cafe buzzed with its usual morning rhythm, the gentle clinking of cups, the hum of chatter, the hiss of milk steaming into foam. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, painting everything in soft gold. It was a scene full of life, warmth, and laughter. But in one quiet corner behind the counter stood a young woman who didn't quite belong to that brightness. Her name was Emily. Dressed in a plain gray uniform, she moved with quiet grace and fast, precise, but distant. Her eyes rarely met anyone's. Her smile, though polite, never reached her soul. She carried a silence heavier than the tray in her hands, the kind that comes from years of being misunderstood. To most customers, she was just the waitress, invisible until needed, forgotten the moment she turned away. Yet on this particular morning, someone did notice her. Not a grown-up with judgment in their eyes, but a little girl whose heart saw deeper than most. Before we go further, I'd like to pause and ask, do you believe in kindness? In second chances? In seeing people for who they truly are? If you do, please like, share, and subscribe to HQ Infinite Stories, where we tell tales that remind the world that compassion still matters. Emily was only 24, but her eyes told a story of a lifetime. Once she dreamed of becoming a teacher, of standing in front of children, inspiring them to dream. But love came early and heartbreak followed even faster. By 21, she was a single mother, abandoned, whispered about, and judged by a town that never forgot her mistakes. No longer the bright girl with a future, she became that girl with the past. Her job at the cafe wasn't her dream, but it kept food on the table for her little boy, Noah. Every morning, she tied her hair neatly, put on a brave face, and stepped into a world that had already decided who she was. That day, as Emily served coffee to a man and his young daughter, she expected the usual, polite words, brief smiles, nothing more. The man, Daniel, was quiet and gentle, a single father raising his daughter Lily alone after losing his wife years ago. But just as Emily turned to leave their table, Lily pointed right at her. The cafe fell silent. Emily froze, expecting something hurtful. Children often repeat what they hear at home. Instead, Lily said softly, "Daddy, she looks like an angel." Just a really sad one. For a moment, Emily couldn't breathe. No one had looked at her like that in years. Not as a mistake, but as something beautiful and broken. Daniel glanced at Emily, really seeing her for the first time. The tired eyes, the quiet kindness, the strength behind the silence. Emily quickly turned away, embarrassed but moved. The cafe soon returned to its usual buzz, but something inside her had changed. From that day on, Daniel and Lily began visiting more often. Each time, Lily would wave at Emily, her innocent smile bright as morning light. Slowly, conversations bloomed, small, simple, but real. A comment about the weather, a shared laugh, a kind word. For Emily, those moments were like oxygen. She still worked double shifts, still came home exhausted to Noah, still fought against the whispers of the town, but now, a tiny spark of hope had returned. One night after another long day, Emily sat beside her son as he asked why they couldn't afford new shoes. She smiled weakly and told him, "One day we will." Later, she thought of Lily's words, an angel who's just really sad. And for the first time in years, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken after all. Weeks later, the cafe hosted a small community night. Emily dreaded it but had no choice but to attend. As she served drinks, she felt a small tug on her apron. It was Lily. Without hesitation, the little girl wrapped her arms around Emily in a warm hug. Emily froze. No one had touched her like that in public for years. Tears filled her eyes as Daniel approached, apologizing, but Emily shook her head. "It's okay," she whispered, voice trembling. "It's more than okay." From that moment, everything began to change. Daniel and Emily grew closer, their talks deepening beyond polite words. He learned about Noah, her reason for never giving up. She learned about his loneliness, his sleepless nights, his journey as a father. Their hearts recognized each other's pain and their quiet strength. One morning, Daniel handed Emily an envelope. Inside wasn't money, but a form, an application for a teaching assistant program. "You always wanted to teach, didn't you?" he said softly. Emily's hands shook. She hadn't told him that. It was Lily who had once asked why she looked at children's books with such longing. Tears streamed down her face. That night she filled out the form. The road ahead wasn't easy, balancing work, studies, and motherhood. But every time she wanted to give up, she remembered Lily's words. The angel who's just really sad. Months later, Emily stood in front of a classroom full of children. Noah watched proudly from the back, Daniel and Lily smiling beside him. She had done it. She had reclaimed her dream. She was no longer just a waitress people whispered about. She was Emily, the teacher, the mother, the woman who had found her light again. And all it took was one child who chose to see her heart instead of her history. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to HQ Infinite Stories, where every tale reminds us that love, hope, and kindness still exist. And before you scroll away, drop a comment below. Because sometimes, that simple belief can change someone's entire world.